The lost bell of the village. Once upon a time, in a small village nestled between rolling hills, there was a bell tower in the center of the town square. The bell was no ordinary bell, it was said to bring prosperity and good fortune to the village. For generations, the villagers rang the bell every morning, thanking the skies for their blessings and welcoming the day. One stormy night, the bell tower was struck by lightning, and the bell fell into the river that ran beside the village. The swift currents carried it away, and the villagers woke to find their precious bell missing. Panic spread. Without the bell, their crops might fail, their livestock might weaken, and their happiness could fade, or so they believed. For years, the bell's absence cast a shadow over the village. Crops began to fail, and the once bustling markets grew quiet. Some villagers blamed bad luck, while others whispered that the river spirits had stolen the bell as punishment. Among the villagers was a humble farmer named Arjun. He lived on the outskirts of the village, far from the gossip and fears that consumed his neighbors. Though life was hard without the bell's supposed blessings, Arjun worked tirelessly, planting seeds, tending to his animals, and helping others whenever he could. Fortune, he would often say, comes from hard work and kindness, not a bell. One morning, as Arjun was fishing by the river, his net caught on something heavy. He pulled and pulled until, to his amazement, he saw the gleam of metal. It was the bell. Tarnished and covered in mud, but unmistakable, Arjun's heart leapt. The bell. This could bring joy back to the village, he thought. But as he examined it, he noticed an inscription on its surface that he had never seen before: "What you give, you shall receive." The words glimmered faintly in the sunlight. Curious and cautious, Arjun decided to test the bell's powers before announcing his discovery. That night, under the full moon, he rang the bell softly. Its deep, melodious tone echoed through the hills. To his astonishment, a pile of fresh vegetables appeared at his feet. Arjun understood the bell's magic, it granted wishes. Yet, remembering the inscription, he realized its power was tied to selflessness. What if I use this to help the village? He thought. The next morning, Arjun quietly rang the bell again and wished for a bountiful harvest in the fields of his struggling neighbor, an elderly woman named Meera. By evening, her once wilted crops stood tall and golden. Meera, overjoyed, shared her harvest with the entire village. Arjun continued his quiet work. He wished for clean water for the village well, food for the hungry, and warmth for the cold. Each time, the bell answered his call, and the villagers began to notice their fortunes changing. Yet none of them knew the source of the miracles. One day, however, a greedy merchant named Veer saw Arjun ringing the bell by the river. Aha! Veer thought. So this is where the magic comes from. That night, Veer crept to the riverbank, stole the bell, and dragged it to his grand house. Greedy for riches, he rang the bell and wished for mountains of gold. But instead of gold, a pile of stones appeared. Furious, he rang it again and again, demanding jewels, land, and power, but each time, only useless objects appeared. Finally, in frustration, Veer threw the bell into a dark cellar and stormed off. The next morning, the villagers noticed that their good fortune had vanished. The water in the well was murky again, the crops were failing, and the warmth in their hearts seemed to fade. Arjun quickly realized the bell was gone. He searched high and low until he heard whispers of Veer's strange behavior. Gathering his courage, Arjun confronted the merchant. Veer, the bell's power works only when wishes are made for others, not for selfish gain. Please, return it for the good of the village. Veer sneered but reluctantly showed Arjun the cellar. To his horror, the bell was cracked and silent. "It's broken," Veer said. "It's useless now." Arjun picked up the damaged bell and gently ran his fingers over the inscription. "What you give, you shall receive," he murmured. Determined to mend it, he carried the bell back to the village square. There, Arjun gathered everyone and told them the truth about the bell's magic. The bell is a gift, but its power depends on our selflessness. Let us work together to restore it, not with gold or jewels, but with kindness. The villagers, inspired by Arjun's words, began to help one another. The blacksmith offered to repair the bell. The potter brought clay to patch the cracks. Children fetched water from the river, and elders sang songs of encouragement. As the bell was restored, something remarkable happened. Though no one rang it, its melodious tone filled the air. The crops turned green, the river sparkled, and the village seemed alive with joy. The villagers realized the bell's true power was not in granting wishes but in uniting them through compassion and generosity. From that day on, the bell was rung not to ask for fortune but to celebrate acts of kindness. Arjun became a beloved figure, not for finding the bell but for reminding everyone of its lesson: what you give, you shall receive. Moral of the story: selflessness and unity can restore even the most broken of things, bringing prosperity and joy to all.